Howdy guys, got a video about an unusual ship today, Nachi. I'm running the Nachi Commander with Einstein and Makawa. Ingenious, full speed ahead. Her unique skill, which improves your AP, angles, penetration, and damage. And then fixated, grouping, and dispersion, and fully packed is really the only reasonable skill there. I've got aiming systems, prop mod, and concealment. You can see the artillery is great. That turret traverse is pretty abysmal. I often use turret mod. Torpedoes and A are fine. Speed is quite nice. And then finally here at concealment, 8.9 combined with the actual short range of the guns is really your strength. Wolf arcade, no luck there. But definitely do pretty well in standard. Ranked is actually my favorite place to play this thing. I think the smaller maps and team sizes really favor it there without the improved reload, because you're really relying on your. It's more like an ambush hunter than a straight damage output thing, and I think arcade favors ships that have great damage output, whereas ranked, they don't change the reload or anything. It just shrinks the teams and maps, and I think that's actually a place where this ship really shines. So I wanted to make this video because, man, I am trying to remember. I have probably seen like one other person play this ship what I would consider correctly, for lack of a better word. I mean, obviously, you do what you want with any ship, but this is a weird ship. It is an AP focused Japanese cruiser on this I think it's basically a Miyoko hull. The IJN heavies and light cruisers, for that matter, are broadly HE focused. This is definitely a very different beast. And I've seen people trying to increase the short range. The main battery is 13.8 kilometers by default. But really, honestly, I feel like that's one of its strengths. You can use its short firing range to manage your detectability, and along with your quite good 8.9 kilometer detection, you can actually manage what ships can see you in a way that you can't necessarily do in a ship with a longer range. And especially since you're trying to get this AP into action, I find that engaging at shorter ranges is generally what you want to do anyway, and then you can kind of disappear. So you saw I took a shot at that Fiji, didn't lead quite enough for his turn, but got a Citadel. The AP on these shells does a lot of damage. It's the same as like Baltimore levels. I don't believe it has any improved penetration angles or anything, or super heavy or anything like that, apart from the Nachi skill that I'm running. So yeah, that's a decent salvo on a 10-kilometer Fiji. That's a lightly armored ship. You're generally going to be looking at pretty good damage on that with the AP from anything. But yeah, I think that's really one of the ways you got to play this ship, is if you're not leaning on the AP. You'll see that I load the HE a handful of times in this match, but that if you can't get the AP on this thing to work, like, you're gonna hate it. All that to say, I would never claim that this ship is one of the best ships out there. It can be very limited. Depending on the matchmaking, you can have quite poor matchups. The match before this one's 4 destroyers. The match before this was 5. It's IJ and heavy cruisers are not necessarily the best at hunting destroyers just because of their firing angles and the longer reload, but they can certainly have high alpha, and you can hurt a destroyer even if it don't sink it, depending on how long they're spotted, etc., etc. This Grom, I try to lead it. That alternate European line doesn't have the best acceleration, but you can see he's off the line, and I still do drag it just a little bit back. I'm still firing AP at this distance, and with him angled like that, the HE alpha on this ship is so low. One arm for 2200. Like, if I can get one shell to arm in him, a lot of times that's worth the overpins, because the HE shells barely do any more damage than an AP overpin. You'll get more you'll get more module disables and things like that, but the AP itself, I find, is, in most cases, better against destroyers, especially tier 6 and 7. Tier 5, you might start having more difficulty getting any arms, but yeah. So you saw I kind of was basically I was assuming that those Grom torpedoes would end before they got me, based on the you know, range of the torpedoes, and when it looked like he fired them, then I was pretty sure I would be safe. And then, uh-oh, here comes an Icarus. It looks like these guys pushed through B with no resistance. This was kind of not even kind of, this was totally unexpected. Here we have a little bit of a paid actor. Sorry, Crouch Bay, but you gotta fire AP, dude. Yeah, so this Icarus is over here. These are kind of... I've got my sonar on. This, what is it, the Heinrich beside me, actually, I think played a really great game. I don't know if he got fully rewarded for it, but there's pretty much no way this is a win without him. We're both firing at the Icarus. You see another arm on the AP on a destroyer, and it actually does a lot of damage. So, yeah, Death Strike from the Heinrich. Nice work on him. You can see that the AP on this thing really is not bad. So I'm using my kind of narrow hull, my speed. I'm dodging some shots from Leon. Got my heals in action. This ship, I believe it trades some max health for these heals. So yeah, so if you're not getting use out of them, you're definitely going to be missing a lot of the effective health of this ship. So make sure you don't kind of die before you get your heals off. That's definitely going to be a bad plan. Yep, that Grom goes down. I was trying to angle. Again, the turret traverse on this is definitely one of its weaknesses. I think actually after these 2 games that I played with Aiming Systems 1, I think I'm going to go back to turret, just because the ranges that you're playing at, the dispersion doesn't make that much difference, and there are definitely times where I would like the turret traverse to be faster. We saw I got a pretty good citadel on this Craft Bay. It's been a long time since I've played down at, or much at these tiers. You know, I basically get my premium wins a week and just move up to 7, 8, 8 legendary tier. I don't actually remember a lot of the armor profiles on ships as much as I used to. You know, I know the Graf Bay is like this kind of pocket battleship, heavier cruiser. I can't remember where its citadel is. And I can't remember exactly what its kind of internal armor is. I know it's got the weaker nose. It's not a battleship, but it's certainly heavier, has heavier armor than a cruiser. But he does go down. I fully admit that, you know, that guy, I don't know, bought it, got it in a crate, whatever. He's certainly not using the Graf Bay to its strengths. You got to get the AP going into broadsides, and you got to get the torpedoes into action when you can. So it wasn't necessarily using it to its strengths there. So at this point, our match is looking pretty good. We've got a ship smasher chasing the carrier. It looks like he's being harassed by the carrier, so instead of going to B, he's chasing it. Generally not my preference, but we do have 2 caps, and it does look like the carrier is attacking him. So at a certain point, you know, if the carrier keeps resetting him on B, he's not going to get B anyway. So it's not something I generally do, chasing a carrier to the back of the map, but I can see why he might be inclined to do that. Here I've already tried a few salvos on this Leon and not had good results from the AP, especially at this range. So I'm switching to HE. Heinrich gets a great salvo on him, but is also a little bit lucky that it doesn't take too much back. But yeah, HE on this thing is really lackluster. You can set fires on nose and battleships, but it's unimpressive all around. A little bit closer, I switch back to the AP, just trying to finish this thing off, especially if the Heinrich, you know, just so he doesn't take more damage than he needs to. And that was actually a halfway decent salvo. 4 pins, overpin, shatter mounts. Like, I'll take that. We're going to come in and cap B, since we're heading this way anyway. Try to, you know, get to the ship smasher. There's a battleship brawl duel going over on the far eastern flank. And again, with this short range, I'm not going to be in position to affect that anyway. But if our battleship loses, there's still definitely enough time that pretty much, you know, I think it is a no, it's a Hyuga. I think ours is in New Mexico. He could probably get to C and maybe cap it. I don't think it's going to flip the you know, outcome of this game, but just in case, I'd like to generally be in position to contest and see if that battleship does. And there's also a destroyer somewhere. You know, I to the best of my knowledge, looking at the map, this guy hasn't been spotted the whole match, so I'm actually wondering a little bit if he's AFK at this point. That actually was the case in a couple of my matches. Some on my team, some on the red team. Always a bummer. Here I get spotted. I think my vision circle is not where he would be if he were AFK, and also you see the Ingenious is going from targeted to untargeted to targeted, so that generally leads me to believe that he is actually playing. Um, to the best of my knowledge, carriers can't even target anything. I don't know if there's any kind of secondary anything, so my 99% sure that that's not from the carrier, and this destroyer is playing. And then you see, I pop my sonar, and not too long after the torpedoes pop up. So this guy is playing. We know he's kind of off to our right. I switched to the HE, and then I'm like, oh man, this carrier is slowly backing up. So I definitely need my AP on this, because this is like perfect. This is exactly what this ship lives for. If I wasn't spotted by the destroyer, I'd be invisible right now, and then I get a full broadside shot at 11 kilometers with AP, and whack, 31,000 damage, 5 citadels. If I had had the AP loaded to begin with, I think I actually would have sunk that carrier, and spoiler alert, this probably would have been a 3,500 XP game. I'm still firing AP at this destroyer because he is angled enough that I'm hopeful I'll get some arms on it, but as he turns back in, I just switch to the HE. Because if there's no chance of arming, or if your shells are bouncing, the HE still is better. It is usable, but you can see throughout this match, I've probably fired 3 or 4 HE salvos, and the rest AP. I think that's definitely the way you want to play this ship. I do enjoy this ship. It's weird. It's different. It's not the best, but as you can hopefully see from this, it's not the worst. If you can play to its strengths, try to ambush ships. You really want to get ambush shots on cruisers. It's one of those cruiser hunting cruisers at its best. But it's fun. You can definitely chunk battleships, or in that case, a carrier. 34, 66, 120,000 damage. This ship isn't played a lot, but I really enjoy it. Have fun.